Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey,
It's me, Daniel,
and band
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. Look, it's that podcast that you sometimes listen to where we talk about pop culture things, mostly comic book related, but doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Comic book movie, by the way. We very rarely actually talk about comic books.
That's true. We often branch out into other things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Fast and the Furious franchises, James Bond,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, which got pushed back. But
That's a
just a
bummer.
real quick thing.
But yeah,
Yeah.
So that's what we do for a little bit. We read some headlines, and then we jump into whatever we're doing. You've read what this episode's about. We are fan casting the Fantastic Four. Ben's got a little extra something for everybody, which I'm excited about. But before we get into that, we've got very few headlines. One of them right now is the She-Hulk. It's really picking up steam, baby.
Yeah.
they're gonna do it. They were looking for an Alison Brie type or Alison Brie, depending on who you ask.
No,
I liked. She had a bit on James Corden that I watched right before. This.
I watched that bit too.
I liked it.
How do you feel about that? Because I'm not convinced she's not playing She-Hulk. I'm pretty convinced she is.
I mean, I would like if she did.
Yeah.
She's good. It's just I feel like when you do that, you're really committing to a CG, like a lot more CG to get her where she needs to be for She-Hulk. Because
Well, I mean that's fine. I mean,
it's a TV show though. Like it's a.
that's true. I mean, they are pouring like movie budgets into each.
That's
every
true.
one of
Who
these
knows how many episodes,
So it
right?
could be
Maybe it's just
fine.
6 episodes.
Well, that's how WandaVision's turning out right now, right? 6 to 8.
Yeah, but like WandaVision, I get the sense it's like a one and done thing, so they can
Yes.
do.
But She-Hulk,
what they
you're
She-Hulk
thinking it's
feels
more
like it's
multiple
like-
seasons and all that.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be like.
You know what? I think that's fair. Like, She-Hulk probably won't ever have a standalone solo,
no, like
but
I
she'll
know
be like
they
a part of the Avengers.
they
like,
do
team-up
want
stuff.
They
Yeah.
do eventually want her to be an Avenger, but like that's still not a She-Hulk movie.
Right.
This is, and
She could more successfully have a better following as these seasons of
Mm-hmm.
however you want to say them, because they're not exactly television, but they're not exactly movie
no, it's not a
formats
movie.
either.
It's serialized storytelling.
Yes.
Just
That's
back
best
to the
way say
original
it, I
way
guess,
on
yeah.
TV as opposed to over 24 movies
Yeah.
in the cinematic universe. And so the big things that came out of that is they are going with her traditional origin,
Mm-hmm.
which is that she gets into an accident, needs a blood transfusion. I'm hazy on the finer details, as I was telling you before,
Yeah.
but ultimately Bruce has to give his blood to help her with her blood transfusion, which then gives her powers.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Bruce, she does not see it as a curse necessarily, and she very proudly is in Hulk form
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, even while she's being a lawyer. Also, she is a character that breaks the fourth wall.
Yep.
That's good.
And I can really love Alison Brie doing that.
Yeah,
a lot.
I think she does have the comedic chops with also being a very good dramatic actor when
Correct,
she needs to be.
yeah. Like when I watched her in season 1 of Glow, because I still haven't seen season 2
Oh,
yet.
I love it.
It's
I love it all.
some of the best acting. It's
She's great.
really, really great. And then you know she has the comedy chops, because right now I'm currently also rewatching Community,
Yep.
as I always do, because I
Great.
forgot I had Amazon Prime. And then
Is it all on?
It's all on Amazon Prime, yeah.
That's the thing about Amazon Prime. I know we're taking a detour, but sometimes I'm like, oh great, I get season 2 and 5. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
just
hate the
put it all-
inconsistency of
just
Amazon
put it all
Prime.
on there.
It's just like, oh, okay, well, if you have an Amazon account, then this is a add-on anyway, so you shouldn't care about this. But I'm like, no, I care about this, because the reason why I have an Amazon account is because of Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It's the opposite way around for me. I
Yeah.
don't care about the one-day shipping as much as
No.
most people do.
No, I don't. I rarely take advantage of that. I just want the shows
Yeah.
and the movies.
That's exactly it.
Uh,
They have a
but
good backlog of 90s comedy movies.
Yeah.
So they really do.
so yeah, Alison Brie Mark Ruffalo probably will be in it, although they don't necessarily need him.
They don't
Technically,
need him.
I mean, it would be nice. Obviously, who doesn't want to watch him play
Correct.
that character anymore?
But it could be something like akin to like a flashback sequence, just like how they did in Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey kind of
right,
stuff.
or just your cousin gave you your thing.
Yeah,
because that's their connection.
Or it could be like a delivery through like,
and it says Bruce on it or something like.
It could be a delivery through like Jimmy Woo or something like that, right?
I want more Jimmy Woo.
Yeah, that would be fun. You know, like it's like wait, like I just came from Avengers headquarters with this, and it's just like just a vial with glowing green. We'll know what that means. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like we're good.
So yeah, I guess that's the She-Hulk. Oh yeah, sorry. More importantly, people probably know she is a lawyer, but in this show, I believe the idea will be that she's a lawyer specifically for superheroes who may have been caught up in the whole Sokovia stuff and the legality of it. Even if it isn't Sokovia specific, I think enough has happened in the world where people are probably like, yeah, we got over the whole it's fun that they're here thing, and now maybe certain things are happening where they need legal representation.
Yeah, it might be nice to have like an episode of 2 of that before she, like the days before she becomes She-Hulk, because I can't. What I want. I don't want
her
a
being
straight up origin
She-Hulk.
kind of thing.
No, her being She-Hulk does not mean now I do
no,
superhero stuff. Like you could start with her being She-Hulk.
Right, that's what I mean.
Because
it's
she's
just like,
still a lawyer.
I want it to be like a kind of storytelling format similar to the Captain Marvel format, where it's like, okay, she's
find
already
out after the fact.
you're already a superhero, but you find out the origins like 1 or 2 episodes, and then you come back to the action, because at this point in time, I've really burnt out from the origin story aspect of everything. So for them to introduce She-Hulk as like, no, okay, she's She-Hulk, she's doing her thing and all that kind of stuff, and then she got knocked in the head, and here's a flashback episode. Boom, cool, done. We're happy, moving on, kind of deal.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's that. Is it? I don't have anything else. As you said, James Bond got pushed back. That's a bummer.
Thanks to coronavirus, but hopefully nothing else gets pushed back. I mean, the other thing that we can talk about is, of course, the Batman photos that Matt Reeves has put out about the Batmobile. You and I had a lengthy discussion on.
You did not like
text.
them at first.
I did not like it at first. But
Well, here's the thing. I shouldn't say that I liked the overall feel of the pictures.
I like the feel about it.
I thought it was the first time I was like, oh, that looks cool. I did it is weird for me to be like, I guess he's just gonna get in and out of a regular ass car.
Right.
Like I get that the Batmobile it was also a car, but it didn't look like a regular car. It wasn't like
Correct.
It was, I'm talking about the '89 Batman one.
Yeah, the original Batman.
Well, I mean,
With Tim
it's
Burton.
not the Adam West Batmobile.
No, the original.
Which this
theatrical
actually
release.
feels closer to.
This feels much closer to the original Batmobile.
And I still liked that as a kid until I saw the '89 Batman Batmobile, and I was like, oh yeah, this. Always just do this.
Yeah, because it's weird because the '89 Batman one was car-like enough, but had enough features like the Nolan stuff, where it was like tanky.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Without looking like a tank.
Yeah, without looking
It
like
was
a tank.
sleek still, and I
Yeah,
like that.
and then the Nolan and the Justice League Batmobiles are just like straight up tanks, and you're just like, okay, well that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I do not care for
But
the
then-
Ben Affleck Batmobile.
Yeah, you don't like the Ben Affleck. I love that Ben Affleck Batmobile. Like, I love all the gears and tech from the Justice
It's
League
fine.
stuff. Like, I love it so
like
much.
I guess it's better than the Tumbler. Don't get me wrong, the Tumbler does cool things.
Yes.
But I remember when I first saw it, I was like, "Fuck this!"
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "What do you want him to do?" Like, obviously, she was like, "Obviously, it needs to be tactical. Like this."
And it has to have like bats all over it and all that kind of shit.
No, like she was the one arguing like the Tumbler makes the most sense. Everything else is stupid.
No, I agree with that. But like, I'm only imagining what your side of it was. Like, there's not even a bat on that thing. This is stupid.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't want him to actually be like in a tank. I don't care for that.
I actually like the tank approach much better. Yeah. But like, so that's why the Batman or the Batman versus Superman Justice League Batmobile was like the best Batmobile to me, because like that was also
don't even
similar to the
remember
Arkham games Batmobile.
Yes, it was.
No. And that's why I loved that portrayal aesthetically and like from a gadget standpoint of Batman the best. But the Nolan Batman is still the best, I think, to me. But either way, it's
Sure.
either way, we digress. We are talking about the Batmobile right now. What it looks like, it just looks like
just a
someone
car.
took a Dodge Charger or a Mustang, hacked it up, and then like here you go. But Matt Reeves did say like this is a Batman that put together his own suit, right? So for the Batmobile to be not that impressive actually makes a lot of sense to me because I'm just
No,
like,
it doesn't. It's not like he's not a regular human. Like,
Right.
yes, he is a human, but the whole point of this is to elevate beyond like
correct.
beyond the idea that anyone can do it. That was actually a flaw. Well, I mean, he didn't really follow through on it, but Nolan's movie was like he's just going to inspire someone else to do this, and I'm like, no, Bruce Wayne does it, and then he finds through his Bat family specific people who can like help him, but it's never supposed to be like this is my legacy. When I'm gone, they're going to do this. That's not how he's thinking. He like even in the comics, he even has like an alter ego that he can go into if something happens to his brain.
Right.
Because his plan is never really like, oh, I'm leaving this to someone else.
Yeah, he's never
So
gonna
this
leave
needs
it
to be
off.
something that people can like replicate.
Right.
This is like, no, it's on my terms. I do it my way.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, the whole
And-
inspiring others to pick up the mantle thing is really only a Nolan verse kind of property from Batman.
No, but what I'm saying,
characteristics.
is, even in something we both agree is good, I find that to be a flaw. What I'm
Fair.
saying is, I don't like the idea that it's just something anyone with enough money can do. I like the idea that like it's specific to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It is a thing that Bruce Wayne can do because he is better in multiple ways, not just because he has money. That's why the Ben Affleck joke of like, "What's your superpower?" "Oh, I'm rich." I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like that isn't his superpower.
No.
It's his tenacity. It is
It
that
is his
he
tenacity,
is
the willpower, the
and he can
yeah.
do things that other people can't do. Yes, he's got a leg up because he's got the money and resources, but just like T'Challa has money and resources, it's not just that about him.
Yes.
It is specific to him. Why he can do the things he can do.
Correct.
Just like Bruce Wayne. So, yeah, the whole, like, yeah, it's fine because he did say it's like, but Bruce Wayne's really making these things. I'm like, that make him make something better.
Yep.
That because it's Bruce Wayne and not just a mechanic that he gave some specs to, make it better.
So I guess it really does track to like what era this is, what decade this movie is going to be, because it puts a lot of stuff in context, right? In the sense where James Bond, like the first James Bond, you see a phone in the car, and
Yeah.
that blew people away at the time, right? That was like, oh my god, you can have a phone in a car? Like, where does it connect? What's the land? What's happening here?
I still don't fully understand how that happened. And my family, not my mother and father, but
Right.
my uncle had a car phone. I was just like, fucking fancy, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, we were like, yeah, moving all over the world. It's just the idea, and this is where, like, I think Batman is so important now, because we talked about Bond a little bit too. The most fun about Bond was when the gadgets that Q gave Bond were like out of this world, like you couldn't conceive of them, and they were like super super cool. But now everything's like, oh no, we have a version of that already. It's just not weaponized. It's just like it's this. It's oh yeah, cool. So everything we get is just like, yeah, my smartphone does 1 billion of those things. Like what the hell? So the magic there is gone. So the Bond franchise recognizing that and being like, okay, yeah, okay, we're gonna move away from the Q element and just toward the espionage thing is cool. So but the Batman stuff, that's where the gadgets could still have that element of like magic coming from Q, or that ideology. And this is where this is what concerns me about this movie, is that it might not have that, depending on the decade too, because it's like, oh, we're in the 60s. Okay, well, I guess the night vision goggles and see-through walls thing is kind of like what
But that's you
looking
limiting
for,
it to
right?
like, it still has to be like, if you watch 66 Batman, it's not like people were like, oh, that's a thing we could have. They just look quaint because of when it was actually being made. But
Yes.
for people watching it in that time, they were still like, oh, that's a cool thing that he has.
Right, but that wasn't the goal back in the 66 Batman.
Yes,
right?
it was.
Was it a thing to be like,
It's a
this so
comedy,
far,
so it's
like-
not like it's
No,
not
exactly.
it's not
It wasn't like
a Wonder Woman, but like the idea that he's got like bat shark repellent, like yes, that is a thing, but like that's not something anyone can get. Like
Yeah.
that would have just been a military thing. So
Fair
it's
enough.
still for the people watching it be like, oh, okay. And yes, it is a comedy, so it's not supposed to make you be like cool, but it is supposed to be like he has a bunch of things no one else could have.
that's true. But like when
So what I'm saying to you is you're limiting it to like it has to be realistic to the time. It has to stick to that. All I'm saying is the things he's using that are better than anything else can still look like they're from the 90s or the 80s, but
Right.
they still should be things that no one could have conceived of.
Fair enough. But I think the time era is important to
I
bring
guess,
into
yeah,
this
we just
discussion.
disagree on that because I
Yeah.
just think that's part of Batman is that whenever he's a step ahead, especially in his gadgets.
Right.
It doesn't need to be limited to what
What the era
time,
was.
yeah, what the era is.
I think it kind of does because when you look at horror movies now, it's just like, okay, you have to find a reason to show the audience why a smartphone didn't work. It's like, oh, okay, the fog rolled in or whatever. It's like, oh, there's no bars on my phone. You like have to make that kind of thing to be like, this is why people just didn't use their smartphones or whatever. But then putting Batman in that kind of thing is like, okay, is Batman in the era of smartphones? Well, if so, then the grappling hook or whatever, it doesn't seem to be that crazy now unless it's like, oh, it's a magnet based grappling hook. It's like, oh, that's cool. How did you get the power supply? I don't know, maybe I'm definitely overthinking this,
Yeah,
but
you definitely are.
a big part of this was lost for me. It's just like, it concerns me, I shouldn't say not
because
lost.
I don't really know what you mean, like when you're, because like his grappling hook is not like tied to any kind of like who cares if there's smartphones and he's got a grappling hook. That part isn't, that's just for him to get around. That's I don't need a deep dive into like how it works. It's just a thing that Batman has, and he's had it in every version that he's had.
I guess what I mean is
my thing is like the Batmobile is the best it can be
right.
in whatever time it is, while also constantly being something that no one else could possibly do.
Right.
So yes, sure, if you want to make the argument that like it's not like he can run around with a smartphone because no one else has it, it still means that whatever computer he's using is better than everyone else's thing in
Yes.
it, which is not what that Batmobile looks like. That Batmobile just like, well, yeah, he just had a lot of money to get the best engine someone could get in that time.
That's what it looks
as
like.
opposed to making something different.
Yeah, it looks like it was like a hack job up of like, oh, here's a Franken car. That's like a supercar, right? It's like kind of like that Fast and Furious joke where it's like a jet engine strapped to a Fiero. Impressive, right? It's just like that's kind of what it looks like, and I'm like, okay, it kind of looks like a joke.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, but then I also like that it's like, okay, well, if a guy was seriously putting this together, why would he be so obsessed with putting his logo and his brand on everything?
Because that's part of Batman. Is you're becoming a symbol. So
fair.
that's all part of the branding of it.
That's fair.
Is that you associate everything he does with that, and it doesn't look like that's what they're doing in this movie. Which I'm not saying that has to be a thing, but
Right.
my argument to why would he do that is the point of it.
That's fair.
He's afraid of bats. And so he wants to instill that fear into everyone else, meaning everything he does is associated with a bat.
That's fair. But anyways, the Batmobile. We'll have to see it in action, I guess.
I'm not even convinced that's the final Batmobile. I'm just saying.
I'm definitely not convinced.
I'm
it's
just
the final
saying, like, I'm like, and it doesn't make it a bad thing, but like to me, I'm not excited that he's like a real hands-on guy that like. He does the best he can, and like he's doing it. He made it, and I'm like, all right, because like the version we got of that was Iron Man, where it was like, yeah, he made a suit and it fucking looked awesome. Like it looked like something no one else could do.
Yep, it's cool. All right, let's move on.
Okay? Yeah. So here's your part where you're gonna blow me away. I'm not trying to joke around. I genuinely feel like this is something you've thought of. So like, I wanted to give you some time to talk about.
Yeah.
As we get to our fan casting thing, it's kind of like the idea is this is imminent, right? Like
Yeah.
there's Fantastic Four is coming.
Four is coming. So is the X-Men. I thought the Fantastic Four introduction into the MCU is a lot easier to think of than the
because it's
X-Men one.
so specific to this group of people,
Exactly.
and it doesn't have to be like, well, where were they? Because they can happen at any time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
and
they get their powers a certain way.
Yeah, with the X-Men, it's just a mutation thing, genetics, and that's a harder thing to introduce because it's like, oh, you guys didn't know about this the entire time. What suddenly did this? Although I could have theories about that too, which will be like brought up a little bit closer to New Mutants when we review that inevitably.
And we also like we already cast Fancasting X-Men, so
exactly. So it's hard to bring up. Anyways, so the biggest thing about the Fantastic Four being ushered in is basically, when we get a Fantastic Four, I don't think we're going to need a traditional origin story again, because I think they've really cued in on the idea that this is something that we've figured out the fans don't want anymore is that traditional origin story. We've kind of gotten bored of it. Because say what you will about Captain Marvel, but it was still a better form of like introducing a superhero at this point now, with the MCU being the way it is, as established as it is. Anyways, so this ties back into, I think, first and foremost, I think Thunderbolt Ross is a part of this. That he's going to be like funding Reed Richards' research and all that kind of stuff, and then they like, I think he's involved in that aspect of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you actually do see Thunderbolt Ross introducing Reed Richards and Sue Storm and all that kind of stuff at some point.
It does look like they're really doubling down on Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
Like he's in probably Black Widow.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. And we've seen him in the trailer. I've just remembered that. I was like, wait, should I say that part? He's in the trailer. So yeah, he's in that.
Yeah,
it
he's
seems
definitely
like
in the
he's going to
trailer,
be in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
So I think
So
he's going to be a big element coming forward, and he's going to try, because basically what's going to happen is I think we're going to get some sort of like team versus team kind of element again, a rehash of Civil War, but in a very different way, right? We were talking about the Thunderbolts,
Right.
and how they're going to get established and how they're going to like eventually fight some form of Avengers and all that kind of stuff. Whether or not it's a big screen event or whether or not it's a Disney Plus streaming event is a different kind of thing. But eventually we're going to see something like that, and I think through Thunderbolt Ross, through Thunderbolt Ross's efforts, he's put together multiple teams of people and all that kind of stuff, and he starts funding a lot of research and all that kind of stuff. That's how I think he funds Reed Richards. What Reed Richards does is very, very promising, and this is with the Spider-Man Homecoming. They said there's a line of dialogue in there that says Stark Tower has been sold. We're moving everything. That's the whole point of the movie, right? So who did he sell it to is the biggest question mark.
And Far From Home also had
Exactly.
stuff because that's what he's swinging through at the end. Whoever bought it.
Yeah, so they've also got stuff going on there. So what I think is most likely going to be the case is that that becomes the Fantastic Four Tower.
Right.
Because the reason why I don't think it's going to be a Norman Osborn thing.
Is that Baxter Building? Is that what that's called?
The Baxter Building, yeah. A lot of people speculated it was going to be Norman Osborn that bought that because
Right.
it occurred in a Spider-Man Homecoming movie. But the issue with that theory, I think, is that I don't have a lot of good faith between Sony and Marvel to negotiate another kind of
One
set of
thing to
movies.
remember
Yeah.
is those Spider-Man movies are Sony movies.
Yes.
So they can introduce...
Oh, they totally can.
They could definitely introduce Norman Osborn in that movie.
Yes.
That's part of the reason they're not on Disney Plus, right?
Correct.
So they still could do it. There wouldn't be any issue there.
Yeah, and
It
we
would-
know Sony, through like Tom Holland has revealed that he knows the future of Spider-Man if Spider-Man 3 didn't get made with Sony and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. So like we know that Sony had all intentions of keeping Tom Holland as Spider-Man and doing their own thing with what Marvel has been and the collaboration is. So I don't think it's going to be Norman Osborn. The tower there introduced in Phase 4 of whatever it is, because what ends up happening is you're basically setting up something big that could affect your whole universe when you could be setting up like to cap off a trilogy that we don't know if we're going to get Spider-Man 4 or 5 or 6 or anything like that. We know we're going to get Spider-Man 3 and that's it right now. So I think it's a better investment for Disney from a writing standpoint to put it as a Fantastic Four thing, build a new franchise out there because you at least get a new trilogy with
agree.
a team-up hero. So it's going to be the Fantastic Four Tower or Baxter Tower or whatever it is, and that's going to be introduced at some point in Phase 4. And we would have found out that this was all happening during the snapping kind of stuff that was happening with whatever it is. Maybe it was Thunderbolt Ross that employed Reed Richards to be one of the people like, how do you undo this kind of thing? And like that could be multiple ways. But we do know that Reed Richards was definitely doing a lot of sciencey based stuff before all this happened that could have flown under the radar. And this, I think, with the Black Widow movie and Thunderbolt Ross being introduced, I think it's very, very important that we pay attention to the dialogue about who he talks to about what. If there's a scientist on screen that says, Reed, could you do this? I think that's going to be a big hint that he is involved in that. But
You're saying we should pay attention to Black Widow because he
100%.
might be making some reference. All right.
I 100% think that's going to be the case because it doesn't make sense to me to have a solo movie for a character that's already dead without it setting up major plot tent poles in the future. from a business standpoint. It has to, because you're the first movie of this phase 4. You're the first material we're seeing of it. It's coming before the Disney Plus streaming stuff, and it's for a dead character. It has to set something up, because arguably what's happening now is Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the only thing that we know is confirmed right now to be occurring after the events of Endgame. For now.
That is correct.
Loki is
and
back
Eternals.
and forth all over the place. Eternals as well. But we're waiting until, Black Widow is still occurring within the Civil War period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is we're still building out that element of what's happening within this realm of between Captain America and Endgame.
Right.
Post Endgame, that's going to be Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I think what's going to happen is Thunderbolt Ross is going to introduce the Fantastic Four into this. I think that's the easiest way and best way to do it.
Cool.
Yeah. So pay attention to what Thunderbolt Ross does in Black Widow.
And presumably Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Correct. Yeah, he will be heavily involved in that.
All right.
Yeah. That's my theory.
Cool. I don't have a theory. I'm just here to listen to yours.
Yeah.
So what we'll do now is we will get to the fan casting element. Mm-hmm. This is something I started really liking to do. Maybe people don't like it. Get your own podcast.
We are content creators, and that's what we do, is we create content.
So
let's break down some of the rules.
Yeah. So here's what I threw the last part at you in the later, so we're probably gonna have different approaches to this, but basically the idea was, because it's only really 5, because Doctor Doom is always an integral part. Yes. We added Namor as an option, but we also said let's try and do up to 3 different castings of that group of 6.
Yeah.
And then I also added director, just so that I kind of felt like you were gonna have your kind of piece on how they fit into the universe and where they're
the director bits where I could not do whatsoever.
Yeah, so I did the director just so I could be like, oh, this is kind of the feel of it, and this is where I think this director could fit in nicely.
All I can think about is Josh Trank.
You know what, man? I don't know that. Just like David Ayer, I don't know if their versions of their movies would have been better.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard for me to be like, that was shit, because it's very clear their stuff was taken away from them.
Yes.
So I can't judge them on that, only to the extent that obviously they were so bad that people were like, all right, we're going to take over here.
Yeah,
and
the only
even
thing
in
we
David
can really
Ayer's
judge
point,
it on is his professionalism or lack of.
Which is David Ayer was way more professional.
Correct.
Yes.
That was it.
Anyway. So I'll go first because I think you only did 2, right?
I only did 2. I only got to 2.
I'll do 1.
It was very, very difficult.
So I'll do 1 cast director. You do 1.
Okay.
I'll do 1. You do 1. I'll do 1. That's how we're going to do it.
Yep.
It's going to be great. People are going to have a great time. They might even finally start talking to us online. But anyway, okay. So starting with the director. This is Trey Edward Schultz. Very confusing name, because you might think he was black with the first name. He is not. His last name Schultz is the giveaway, but he did a movie Waves last year, 2019. Yeah. It's weird calling that last year, even though it technically is last year. Still feel like I'm in 2019.
Last decade, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So he did a movie Waves. I had my issues with it, but what I liked about it was the kinetic energy that he was able to get across. The opening scene is just a group of kids driving to school. And just the way the camera is moving within the car is amazing. I know they did specific things. Very it was the type of technical work that still shows off to the audience. And show off is the wrong word, but I always heard people like DJ Premier and DJ Jazzy Jeff talk about you can't get too technical when you're in a DJ battle, because there's things the other DJ might see you doing that's holy shit, but to the crowd it just looks like you're doing this.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I meant by it's visible to the audience.
Yes.
The technique that's on display. It's not so intricate or esoteric that only another director could see it.
Correct.
I just like the movement he was able to create.
Let's see.
I do like that he works with more diverse casts. Funnily enough, I didn't use any of the people he usually works with in my cast, but that was because I kind of added him at the end, being like, yeah, I could see him being a very solid visual director, which I think is what works with John Watts. Like what he did in Far From Home, like with those Mysterio visuals were like amazing. So I kind of saw him like that, where it's not like people are like, oh, this guy's a name, he can do whatever he wants. He's up and coming, and I feel like he could be molded properly into the MCU thing.
Right.
I think you'll notice a thing with this cast theme. So my Reed Richards, which I will admit I was calling him Richard Reed for the longest time, when I was doing this. But my Reed Richard is Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Ooh.
He played a character in Watchmen. I feel bad. We've already spoiled it on this show, but yeah, he plays Dr. Manhattan on Watchmen.
Yeah.
He's the new Candyman.
Yep.
He was Black Manta in Aquaman.
Yep.
I want to say though that if I had my way, this would have been Sterling K. Brown, but he's already in Black Panther, so I can't cast him.
I haven't cast in this too.
Yeah, so I would have rather, but I would have started with Sterling K. Brown.
Yep.
And then worked from there. But this is good because I kind of feel like even though I still feel like a kid, we're pretty old now. So it's still an older group because everyone's going to be like in around the 86 level here. Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, will be played by Jodie Turner-Smith. She is a British-American actor who was in Queen and Slim just recently, where they kill a cop and they go on a run. She's great. My Johnny Storm, Human Torch. This is where we get into the Power Rangers stuff. Will be R.J. Kyler, who was the Blue Ranger.
Yeah.
I would say keep that energy of Blue Ranger, but he also was in a movie called White Boy Rick, where I was like, yeah, this guy's amazing. Like I've always liked him, but like White Boy Rick mixed with, because I think I saw him in Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl first, which was good. But then I saw him on a show called Vice Principals, where I was like, holy shit, like this guy's got some range. All right. Then I was a complete fan after Power Rangers, and then he did White Boy Rick, and I'm like, all right, this guy,
Right.
I would love to be my Johnny Storm. Ben Grimm, again, my pick for this would have been Brian Tyree Henry, but he's already in the Eternals. He plays Paperboy in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I went with Jonathan Majors, who actually plays R.J. Kyler's brother in White Boy Rick.
Okay.
He's a guy. He's also in the Christian Bale movie Hostiles, where they have to take a family and a group of Native Americans across the country. What else is he in? Oh, he was also this. I mean, I thought he was going to be the lead, but he's the second lead in Last Black Man in San Francisco. If anyone needs any kind of references, Jonathan Majors, I think, is a great actor, and I feel like he could play the sadness of The Thing while also kind of being fun sometimes. Dr. Doom, oh boy. Here we go.
That Doom's a tough one.
Yes, he is. I'm going with Ricky Whittle, who
Whittle.
is...
Who dat?
What's his name again? I haven't watched American Gods in a while. I can't remember his... He's the lead in American Gods.
Okay, sure.
Is that the name of that show? It's had so many awkward things come out about it that I've kind of like cooled on my love for it. Yeah, he plays Shadow.
Okay.
Shadow Moon. I like the idea of him being mixed race because you can still have him be... I know Latvia is not a real place, but usually with a name like Von Doom, you would think he'd be more European white than European African or something like that. But I feel like mixed race, so there is an element of not feeling out of place where he's from, and that kind of fuels his desire to take over. Also means that he could have been a contemporary of Reed when they were in school, if you even wanted to go that route. But yeah, that's that. And then I really went out on a limb on my Namor here, only because I really want this actor to get more work. I feel like I cast her when we were doing other stuff, but it doesn't matter. I want Tatiana Maslany to play Namor. I feel like she's an amazing actress that... there's nothing specific I feel like about Namor that means he has to be a man.
No.
I like the idea of just royalty, and I feel like she always exudes confidence, and it would be cool to see her come up, because I feel like in this movie, Namor would ultimately become a reluctant ally at some point. and I would just like that energy of more than one female hero.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That's my cast there.
Very cool. My casting choice one is going to be very, very boring, I think, to you, because it follows a law of what everyone wants. Because this is exactly what I want too. So it is cliched, it's overdone, but my Reed Richards is none other than John Krasinski.
Makes sense.
You and I have had many conversations about this casting, about you not being confident that he can play off that smart side of things very, very well.
As I said, I wouldn't be like, how dare they cast him? Like, everyone wants it. I get it.
Right.
I just feel like that's not the right level, but that's what acting is for.
Yeah.
I've never seen him do it, but
Yeah, like I've seen an episode or two of Jack Ryan, and that's not a good comparison because before Reed Richards is doing something very, very different. But like he can do the serious thing.
no,
And
I never, because most of his movies are him being serious. He doesn't.
Correct.
He doesn't do a lot of.
He
Funny
doesn't
movies.
do funny and comedy.
Jim
He's-
is like almost like a
it's an
aberration.
outlier.
It's an
Yeah,
outlier.
It's an outlier compared to every other role he takes.
Because I feel like he probably tried to veer so far away from that.
Yeah. Oh,
that
totally.
like I know he's been in a couple of rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Why is that word sound so funny to me now?
Rom-com.
Anyway, he's been in a couple of rom-coms, so like I'm not like, oh, he's never done anything
Mm-hmm.
light, but especially when it's like his thing, like A Quiet Place,
Yeah.
or like he did another one, Interviews with Ugly Men, which I thought was going to be funny, and then I was like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
this serious movie? But like, yeah, he's a serious guy. I just still don't think he's the very specific thing I think of for Reed Richards in terms of what makes him thing. And the only reason I said it is because obviously John Krasinski comes with like
Right.
a brand, right? Like
He does.
For mine, Yahya Mateen, Abdul Mateen, I don't know that he's been typecast just yet, other than good-looking black guy.
Fair enough.
But like, it wouldn't be weird to see him kind of stretch out and do something else.
Yeah.
Whereas for John Krasinski, I don't know that even the MCU would let him. They would probably cast him to be, even if it is Jack Ryan, like
Right.
that.
But it depends on, and this is where like the director part of this casting thing would have made a lot of sense, because what I'm hoping that the MCU is going to do with this is make it a little bit less serious and therefore have a little bit of playful cockiness with Reed Richards and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I think John Krasinski can really shine with how Jim is portrayed, that cocky playfulness and all that kind of stuff. And then Emily Blunt, obviously, Sue Storm being obviously a very, very serious character, Emily Blunt works very, very well for that in everything that she does. And I think that'd be fantastic to see the two of them, even though they're married, they're married on screen, to kind of play on that kind of thing, right? Johnny Storm to me is Dacre Montgomery screams Johnny Storm to me. That young, good-looking kind of ripped kind of character and all that kind of stuff would play, and visually I think personally looks, you could make a good argument of like, yeah, they do look like each other, Dacre and Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
So I think that works really, really well. The thing is John Cena, just because I love the idea of having more wrestlers being casted in things, and I think John Cena would be a perfect thing because his jaw itself is so square and like rocky already that you're like, okay, yeah, I could definitely see him playing the Thing. It wouldn't be too big of a stretch. And Doctor Doom, this was hard. Because
I agree with you.
The
Dr.
Victor
Doom is
Von
hard.
Doom aspect of it, without casting like an overtly, like the most obvious choice to me is Jamie Lannister.
I never know how to say that guy's name. Nicholas Walder.
Nikolaj Walder, whatever. But I actually wanted Jeffrey Dean Morgan to do this.
Okay.
I think that could be really, really cool.
Wait, why did you go away from Jamie Lannister, or did you do that later?
No, well, I mean, because this casting choice to me was too safe. It's something that everyone wants already that I wanted to shake things up and not do the Nikolaj whatever. So I wanted Jeffrey Dean Morgan to do this because, of course, I wanted the Victor Von Doom to be a lot more terrifying than what he traditionally is played for, but also that guy that you can definitely see like working well with John Krasinski, and because I think their age works well together in this too.
I had to do a lot of research into that for sure.
Right.
Like the age.
Yeah, because like there was one person I cast as Sue Storm, and then someone I cast as Reed Richards that I was like, oh wait, that wouldn't work from an age standpoint, but from a visual standpoint, that would look okay. But it would Doctor Doom to me, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think, can play that really, really terrifying aspect of I'm doing my own version of good, and this is the order I want, and the new Latvia, and all that kind of stuff. I think Jeffrey Lee Moore can do that really, really well. And for Namor screams like for you, Namor didn't have to be a certain gender, but for me, Namor screams Asian. So
you better believe it, baby.
Yeah, Ludi Lin is my casting choice for Namor.
Makes
for
sense.
Sure.
Yeah. He's got that cocky way about him.
He's got that cocky way about him. He's young. His physically, he's built. He's quite good for that role based on what you see in him in that Black Mirror episode, as well as him playing the Black Ranger in the Power Rangers movie was very much like, oh yeah, you've got that cockiness.
It's surprisingly touching when he's like talking about how much he loves his mom.
Oh yeah, it's hugely touching.
I'm really bummed that they're not going to be doing it.
Yeah. So to me, Ludi Lin is Namor the Submariner to me.
Yep.
Yep.
Boom.
So that's my first casting choice.
All right.
Keeping in mind that this casting choice is reflective of a Fantastic Four movie that is meant for the family, a little bit more fun, with a playful kind of perspective. Because my second casting choice goes a very, very different direction.
Yeah. I should say my first one wasn't necessarily for family. It's just probably the one I would want to watch the most. Now, I will be talking about my more family-friendly without being full-on family-friendly. It's a little more classic. The director is Mariel Heller. She directed, of what I remember, just recently, and I really liked this movie, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I thought she did an amazing job. Like, again, it was a kinetic thing, but it was just like, it seemed so fun the way she framed the movie and the way like she transitioned from different scenes. I just thought that really, like, that blew my mind. I was so upset that the people I watched it with didn't love it as much as I did. I thought it was great. I know it's bad to say this, but her husband is Jorma Taccone, so he's part of Lonely Island. They do all those things.
Yeah.
And I like, again, this has nothing to do with anything other than just more context. But like, I feel like they both have a playful way of directing because they both direct, but hers is still kind of steeped more in reality than his. So, my Reed Richards went for real classic white guy winner, Glenn Powell. He is... I remember liking him only because he was so nice to the women in Hidden Figures, but he plays like the astronaut that was like, no, we're not leaving until Catherine signs off on the math here. And I was like,
gotcha.
Good for you, man.
Nice.
Good for fucking you.
Yeah.
He looks like an astronaut. He played an astronaut. I think people probably know him the most. He was the like male lead in that romantic comedy on Netflix, The Setup, where like the two assistants try to get their bosses together and then end up falling in love with each other. So yeah, that's Glenn Powell. I really like his look. I think he just looks like a leader and he can do the smart stuff. Sure. Probably. Who knows? Jessica Roth, who I had to look up how to pronounce her name because it seems straightforward, but there's an E at the end, and I was like, man, you can never tell with that. But it is Jessica Roth.
Yep.
She is the lead of the Happy Death Day movies.
Cool.
I don't know what else she's in, but that's what she's in. And I thought she did a good turn in those because, like, I remember the trailers kind of just made it seem like, oh, this is a terrible thing happening to this woman that, like, who but then, like, you watch the movie and you're like, she's mean. I don't like her. And then by the end of it, you are, like, rooting for her. But, like, I was like, oh, that's pretty good that, like, this movie that probably they didn't, like, she put the effort in is more what I'm trying to get at, is that I feel like Invisible Woman is a pretty thankless job. And I feel like she would put the effort in to, like, bring something out of it that maybe wouldn't be on paper. And again, that's why I would want Mariel Heller to direct this, because again, it's a female and she might be a bit more protective of that character, because I feel like it's such an easy role to be like, well, yeah, she's the Invisible Woman because, like, in this relationship she's pretty much invisible. That's kind of the thing here. And so I would like it so that, like, you're still with the actor even when they're not doing a superhero thing. And that she doesn't get absorbed. Johnny Storm, oh boy, Taron Egerton, or is it Edgerton now? I can't. No, it's Egerton.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Whatever. It's Eggsy from the Kingsman movies. He also just played Elton John in Rocket Man.
Yep.
In another movie, Is it Eddie the Eagle or
Eddie
whatever?
the Eagle. I
I love
really
that
like
movie.
that movie.
That movie's great.
I
That
really
movie
love
is
that movie.
exactly. I don't even know if it's like a great movie so much as exactly the type of movie I like.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I just like it's just right up my alley.
Yeah.
Um,
That was a great movie for me. I was like,
Yeah.
what am I getting myself into? And I was like, no, I really loved it.
Yeah.
Really loved it.
So he's got range, but also you can see him as this cocky guy that needs to be
Oh,
humble.
yeah, for sure.
Then my thing is O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son. I
cool.
feel like because this is the more family one,
Yep.
I'm trying to cast with like a little like softer tone. Like I feel like Taron Egerton might even
Sure.
not fit with this group now that I think about it. But like,
Right.
he still can do fun, and that's why I referenced Kingsman initially. Is that everyone here can do an element of fun, and I just physically feel like he can do it, and I like the idea of him being friends with Glenn Powell and like them going on this journey together. What if Victor was a Victoria? This is the question I ask you.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Female Von
using
Doom. Very cool. I like that.
Belle Powley. She
dat?
is. I mean, she is from for me. Right, White Boy Rick. She plays White Boy Rick's sister.
Okay.
She looks disturbed. I know she probably would hate to hear that, but she just looks disturbed.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like
That's a good, like, Raven or something like that. Like a darker
I just feel like
character.
see her as the darker person to offset
Yeah.
this fun, bright cast here,
Oh,
and
yeah.
to like make it clear, like, oh no, like we're
Yeah, that
something's happening here.
So the picture that you just showed me makes her look like a disturbed
Yes.
kind of Alexandria Daddario.
Yes, so she is a British actress.
Yeah.
Um,
And when we
She's
say
from-
disturbed, kind of like picture Cara Devangeline's look, and that's why she was like picked for the role of Enchantress, right?
yes,
Yeah.
she's also in the morning show, which
Yeah.
I enjoy, but people apparently do not like. But I don't understand why they don't like it. But yeah, the Steve Carell. Why am I blanking on her name? Jennifer Aniston show, and Reese Witherspoon. She should not be forgotten in that. But yeah, Belle Powley, I'm into it. I would like her to be Victoria Von Doom. Then Namor. We're going to go with my guy, Charles Melton. Why didn't I look up how to pronounce his name? I'm pretty sure he's on Riverdale. He was just in Bad Boys for Life as one of the guys who has to take over. And I was just like, I find this guy very charismatic, and I like that he's already played someone that's trying to take over someone's role. This is Charles Melton.
Oh yeah,
Again, going with
I can see
an
him being in
Asian
Namor. Yeah.
thing there. But yeah, his big credits, I would believe, are Riverdale because he plays Reggie, and he was in a movie called The Sun Is Also a Star, but I feel like no one watched that. I saw a lot of posters for it, but I don't know anyone who's seen it. And Bad Boys for Life, again, I don't know many people who've seen it, but I saw it and I liked him in it. And overall, I like that movie, but it's not great. That's all I got to say. And yeah, Mariel Heller is the director because I feel like she does fun very well, and she can always seep in some sinister stuff there. Because she said when she was doing A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, she saw Mr. Rogers as the antagonist, and I was like, that's a really cool way to play it. But also, I feel very strongly about Belle Powley. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I should have looked that up. But she seems like she would be like the cool, like disturbed Doctor Doom.
Very cool. All right. I guess we're on to me now, right?
Yes, we are.
So my casting choice too. This is where I get a little bit more creative and a little more fun with the casting. And this version of it, Reed Richards is not so playful. He's more serious with a little bit of an autistic edge.
Okay.
And for that, Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
That's a good choice.
because I mean, having
I
watched
almost
him in
used him.
Snowden for sure, like he can definitely play that angle really, really well. And I just think he is a very underrated actor, and I would love to see him in the MCU in this kind of capacity.
All right.
So I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I think with him playing visually a little bit younger than the Doctor Doom character that I've cast in this, makes it so that you can really see Doctor Doom's like kind of frustrations, his anger, and his jealousy come out a little bit more. So keep that in mind when I announce my Doctor Doom. But of course, the next logical choice is to talk to my Sue Storm, which is Kerry Washington, which is funny because she is in the original Fantastic Four as the Thing's girlfriend, and that was really really fun. But I see her as Sue Storm after seeing her role in Scandal and all that kind of stuff. How she plays Sirius so well and so intensely, and that I think is what Sue Storm really does well. And I think why someone that I would want played with a little bit of an autistic angle with JGL, being attracted to someone that's super serious and kind of emotionless, the way Kerry Washington can play that as well. For Johnny Storm, her brother, I picked John Boyega. I think he can do really really well. He does the cocky thing in Pacific Rim Uprising really well. And he
does use his British accent. That was, I think, people's problem with that performance. Is he was doing Will Smith but with a British accent.
Right.
So it kind of like no, you're supposed to be more clever than this. But I liked him. I liked that movie more than the original. I know people hate that movie, but I was like, but this is exactly the tone the first one should have been.
Yeah.
Like, this is fun.
Yeah.
I would actually watch this.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
And so I think John Boyega would be a great Johnny Storm and play the right age to play Kerry Washington's younger brother, hotshot brother. The Thing, I think, is Dean Norris. I like the idea of Ben Grimm.
He's like Michael Chiklis.
Yeah, he's like Michael Chiklis, but not only that, like being visually older than Joseph Gordon-Levitt, having Reed Richards, because I imagined The Thing being like doubling down on how empathetic you're trying to make the audience towards the Thing, being like, oh, he has this position, all this kind of stuff, to really make it so that, oh yeah, you were down on your luck too, like you were struggling in this program.
Like,
you're
was
good
he
at this.
just like a mentor to?
No, he was just Reed Richards' friend, and basically like.
Quite the stretch.
Yeah, so I would like. And the thing is, like, Reed Richards is always trying to help Ben Grimm, right? So, like, there's a little bit of empathy towards him because, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, you can play off that. But
to be clear, just so people know, Dean Norris plays
Hank.
Yeah, he's Hank in Breaking Bad.
So with having a younger person, like I envisioned it, like, oh, Ben Grimm, like, helps Reed Richards out some way, like if he's being bullied in school or something like that. But, Dean Norris is not as smart as Reed is, but still in the same program. They kind of help each other along. That's how I was thinking it would be doing. It's like there's more empathy because he's so much older visually.
Yeah, I just feel like he's got like
JGL.
a good 20 years on him.
Oh yeah, like that's why
and
I was
at
like
school together.
Yeah, because he
not with him being like
because
a professor?
I wanted Ben Grimm to be a guy,
Is he
the kind
a
of guy.
janitor there?
What's that?
Is he like a janitor there?
Ben Grimm? No,
Yeah.
I wanted him to be the kind of guy that's like, oh, your first profession didn't work out. You went back to school, and now you're struggling with this for your passion, kind of thing. Building more empathy into the character. Like I really, really put a lot of thought into that.
Got it.
Dr. Doom here is Bryan Cranston. Because
Classic Dean and Brian.
Classic Dr. Doom kind of. You can see it. He plays obviously with Heisenberg, Walter White. That kind of frustration, that anger, that plays so well, and you can see him getting so visually upset and frustrated and really pissed off that he's seen as an equal to someone 20 years his junior from an intellectual standpoint.
And the whole time Ben is like, wait, who's Dr. Doom?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that Victor guy we used to know?
yeah, exactly, right? So that's what it is. And then Namor, to me, is Daniel Day Kim.
You know what's funny? That's who I put.
Yeah.
Not I took it out, but that's who I had there initially.
That's funny.
In my next casting, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. So, like, in this casting choice, I would choose a director that's a little bit more serious, giving us, like, a better version of what Josh Trank's version was supposed to give us, like a more serious Fantastic Four kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Like a Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, something like that.
Because he worked with them on Breaking Bad.
Yep. That could be the case.
On an episode everyone loves.
Yep.
I'm joking. I don't think didn't he do The Fly? Don't people?
I think he did.
Get really frustrated with that episode?
People don't like box episodes.
Yeah, I do. Oh, bottle episodes.
Yeah, bottle episodes. I really like bottle episodes. I think it forces everyone to do something so different, and it's so much more difficult to pull off a bottle episode than it is for anything else. I think.
Yep. All right. That's your thing.
That's my second.
I don't even like my Dr. Doom in this. What a bullshit cast. All right, here we go. Justin Lin. I think he's great. I love the energy he brings to things. I think he does teamwork well. I know he didn't start the franchise of Fast and Furious, but I feel like his thing of family really kind of stuck with me when he was in charge.
Yeah.
This is me acknowledging he didn't start the franchise, and I know the family stuff was always in the franchise. It just stuck with me better when Justin Lin was doing it. So here we go. Justin Lin is the director. Reed Richards is Henry Golding. I love that guy. What a great fucking actor.
The irony is I had Henry Golding as my Namor, but then I decided Daniel Day Kim is better at it.
Yeah.
Because, like, with Namor, for me, the reason why I took Henry Golding off as Namor is because Henry Golding, I'm not convinced, can play that cocky side so well.
Did you see A Simple Favor?
No.
You should see A Simple Favor. Yeah. While I loved him in Crazy Rich Asians for just being so likable, he's so unlikable because of his like cocksure ways in A Simple Favor.
I see.
And it's not like, oh, he's doing a bad job. You're like, wow, he's really doing a good job to like undo all the goodwill of Crazy Rich Asians. So you're like, what a fucking prick in A Simple Favor.
Because I only really recognize Henry Golding from Crazy Rich Asians, as well as that like Amelia Clarke Christmas movie.
Yeah, once I found out what that movie was, I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, even though I didn't watch it, it's just the promotional material sticks in my head.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's a rom-com.
No, I mean, it is, but the point of the movie is, which I feel like the trailers hint at, because I was like, obviously that guy's not really there.
Right.
He is the ghost of the guy who gave her his heart so she could keep living. So the whole point of the movie and that song throughout the trailer is, last Christmas I gave you my heart. So this whole movie is him being around the person he gave his heart to.
So glad I hate Christmas, because that sounds awful.
I mean, that's not specific to Christmas. That's just a weird idea for a movie, which
fair.
people have done before.
Well,
to be clear, that's like one of the first and only Denzel Washington comedies is that he gave his, I think he gives his heart to like this racist mob boss.
Right.
So like it's a thing Hollywood has come back to a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It's not like
it's not a new thing.
Yeah, it's not a new thing. I was just like, I feel like people would hate that twist.
Yeah.
But the way the trailers worked, I was always like, he's obviously not really there. There's so many like things of like him just showing up and her being like, are you stalking me? And him not necessarily answering the question. I was like, he's a goat. He's an angel. He's something. He's some Christmas related bullshit. And then I read what it was and I was like, anyway, haven't seen it. The two movies I've seen him in, I think he does a great job of showing range. And I like the idea of him being closer to A Simple Favor, Henry Golding style, for this kind of like a dismissive husband. Because the other thing with Namor is you need to, no, I won't say that part because I just looked at who my Namor is here. Anyway, but so Henry Golding is Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic.
Cool. I like that.
Sue Storm Sue Storm, Invisible Woman is Betty Gilpin, another person from Glow. What else is she in?
She's the blonde, right?
Yes, she is.
She's
the Captain America version, like the old Southern like hero of their wrestling show on the show. She's great. Love her. Again, a strong actress that won't get lost in that. I tried to pick all three of my Sue Storms as actresses that demand attention and kind of suck you in with what they're doing.
Yeah, that's more than fair.
I first saw her on the show Masters of Sex, where she actually played someone who unfortunately was trying to force their husband into a polyamorous relationship, with the husband being like, not so sure that's what I'm into.
Yeah. Non-monogamy is cool. Don't force it on people.
Yes, exactly.
Don't force anything on people.
Yeah, no, that's a good way. Just don't force anything on anyone.
Just bring it up. If someone's interested, learn more together.
Yes,
that's my advice as a non-monogamous person.
Yes. So that was my first introduction to her. But yeah, I really like her as an actor, and I think Glow is just another place for her to shine. She was in that Isn't It Romantic movie where it's like, wow, you're doing something different in this too, with Rebel Wilson, and she's in that movie that's coming out next week, or when people are listening to it this week, for where like the deplorables are hunted by the elites. I don't remember what it's called, but it got pushed back last year to this year. So she looks like she's the lead of that. Betty Gilpin, gonna be great. Probably. Who knows? Sorry, my thing keeps closing. So now we get to the Johnny Storm. I put Lucas Hedges. He is the he is the nephew in Manchester by the Sea. He first got my attention as a young actor in Moonrise Kingdom as one of the guys that's hunting after the main guy, and he's kind of like, they're like, why are you bringing that weapon? He's like, I mean, he killed my dog. If we find him, I want to be ready. And I was like, that guy is a star right there. He was in a movie called Ben is Back. He recently played Shia LaBeouf in Honey Boy. He's just one of my favorite actors right now.
Cool.
It's kind of, this is him.
Oh, yeah.
He was also in mid-90s, the Jonah Hill movie, where he was playing, I feel like, completely against type. Right. He was in that Waves movie. Probably should have put him in that one. But he was in that Waves movie directed by Trey Edward Schultz. But he's showing up. I feel like he's kind of like the Timothy Chalamet, like, contemporary, because they both were in Lady Bird together. Then they both did drug addict movies, and they kind of seem to be always coming out at the same time. But yeah, I love Lucas Hedges. I want to see him. It kind of seems like an insult to put him in an MCU movie, but I don't care. Let's do it, baby.
Why would you say?
I don't think it would give him that much time to like act.
Okay, that's fair.
But like, just do it, man.
Yeah.
Just play along. Ben Grimm, boy, I wish I knew how to pronounce this guy's last name. Billy Magnuson. Okay. He is the only white person in the new Aladdin movie. He's the funniest part.
Guy.
He's very funny, but he's in a movie called The Oath.
Okay.
Which on paper you think would be this hilarious comedy because it stars Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany Haddish. But he plays this cop who is so intense and like menacing, and like the only other time you see him, he's playing this goof. Like he's in Game Night, which I think is a really underrated comedy. But I just feel like he can really do serious, but he can play along like as the thing. You can kind of see him being kind of funny, but then really taking the gravitas. But in the movie The Oath, yeah, it's like it's obviously an alternate reality, but like basically you have to sign up to be like an American citizen, and I think you get certain privileges taken away from you, and then the idea is you're pledging an oath to America. And Ike and Tiffany Haddish are kind of like, well, we won't do that. And then you learn throughout the movie that they just send people after you to sign after a certain point. And this Billy Magnuson guy is one of the guys that gets sent to thing.
Gotcha.
I just realized that my Namor plays his partner in that movie. Oh. So I wish I didn't do that, but Victor Von Doom, because I feel like this is a pretty like strong looking and like acting Fantastic Four. I went for someone who plays snivelly better with Alfie Allen.
Oh yeah,
from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I could definitely see that.
And Lily Allen's brother.
Oh yeah,
that's what he's famous for, right? Billing Lily Allen's brother. Reek, and I don't remember what his real name was. Greyjoy.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Theon Greyjoy. There it is.
That's the one.
How do I remember that?
How could you not?
Honestly, like I don't remember any names at all, and I remember that.
Yeah. I'm not happy with this choice, but I feel like in the moment I was really like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would be the Doctor Doom, and my Namor would be John Cho. This is only because he is like he was in Justin Lin's first like big hit, and I figured like there needs to be someone connecting to this.
Sure.
To this. I had another guy in there, but then I was like, no, why not? Why not John Cho? Like let him be in there and like be in another big franchise thing.
Gotcha.
Hold on, let me find out who I was also going to put in there. Also, I should say while I'm vamping for time, Perry Shen. I'm just bringing up his picture here. This guy, same movie, Justin Lin guy. He was my Namor, and then I was like, why not just go with John Cho, man?
Sure.
Like I like him.
Yeah.
He probably could do royalty. Who knows? Anyway, the point is that those are my cast. I also wanted to say that speaking of Snowden, Lakeith Stanfield was also someone I wanted to put in as possibly a Reed Richards, but it wasn't in the cards. I felt like Yaya was a stronger choice.
Yeah, like this is the issue. Like because the MCU has played with so many different actors that you almost wish you come into this element of like, oh, you have double castings now, like how Ken Cho or Kenneth Choi. Kenneth Choi played like multiple characters as well as Star-Lord's mom in this.
Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan as well.
Gemma Chan has played two people. Kenneth Choi, it's hard because like he is just playing a descendant of the other character, so has
that been confirmed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's got that character's picture in his office.
Oh yeah, so I forgot that small little detail. Okay, that makes sense. Sure,
that one just seems like why not just cast the same person?
Yeah, okay, sure. But even that, it gets down to this issue because like there's this talking about some of the characters that we wanted to cast. I saw Sterling K. Brown as Reed Richards.
Yeah, I really wanted him.
I wanted him as Reed Richards, but I'm like, right, you're in Black Panther, and that was such a memorable role for you.
Yeah, like that wouldn't be like the Gemma Chan thing where it's like, I guess you're under makeup and no one's gonna,
it's like, oh, you're Gemma Chan, you're blue makeup and everything like that. And now you're not wearing blue makeup, and now we can reasonably accept this to be a different thing, or basically maybe some meta kind of explanation where it's like, oh, yeah, that Eternal was a Skrull.
Right. No,
but
she's
no.
just playing,
she's just
playing something different.
Yeah, she's playing something different. But it becomes very, very hard because you're like, oh, these characters, like I wanted I thought Natalie Dormer would be a good Sue Storm too, but I couldn't pick a good Reed Richards to play off her.
And she's already been in
Captain America and all that kind of stuff, right? So you run into all these issues with like all these characters and actors that you want to cast in. So then it forced me out of my comfort zone to be like, okay, well, for the younger characters, like me looking at younger actors and like, because I'm not too familiar with those kind of things, right? I don't know who the up and coming young actors are nowadays. So
you should look into Lucas Hedges, man. That guy's great.
Yeah,
he's only got one bad movie according to me.
Yeah, so like Dacre Montgomery was an inspiration based on some fan art, but also based on what I've seen in Stranger Things.
Yeah, I think the combination of Power Rangers and Stranger Things means like, oh, like that guy just knows how to act. Like, he's good.
Yeah, I think he's good. I think he's a lot better than what I initially gave him credit for. Mm-hmm. And so I'd like to see him more things for sure, as well as my frustration of not being able to pronounce his name properly.
Yeah, because I've heard Dacre, I've heard
Dacre or Dacre or whatever, but it is what it is.
Luckily, I didn't cast him, so I didn't have to look up. Part of why I didn't cast him, so I didn't have to look up how to pronounce his name.
I also like to think that part of the reason our fan base listens to us on these episodes is to listen to us pronounce names and enunciate poorly.
I'm glad we both were thinking about Sterling K. Brown because I'm like, that. But also, what it did was made me cast younger because I was like, you know what, like, because we're 34, like it's not like we're that young. So like,
no, we're not.
It makes sense that if you're trying to build a franchise, you would go younger. With the people.
Yeah.
Again, not younger than us technically. Some of the people I've cast were younger than us, but not many.
Right.
Like, they were either our age or like 2 years off.
Correct. Yeah.
And then I was like, I guess like it's not like Johnny Storm has to be that much younger than Sue. He just needs to like kind of read as younger, or at least more immature.
Yeah, it just needs to be. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be that much younger. It just needs to be a good-looking, confident guy that just never really had to work for anything. And all
because I almost put Zac Efron in one of them.
I definitely was thinking Zac Efron. To me, it was Zac Efron or Dacre as Human Torch for my safe casting one, and then my like. Oh, I'm gonna shake things up. I'm like, there's no one other than John Boyega to me to play that role. No one, but like I definitely see John Boyega doing a really fun job. Yeah. Based on Pacific Rim. What he did there.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is the perfect like template for.
Yeah.
I wish more people like that. Actually, I don't care who people like it, but I just wish people didn't trash it just by not watching it.
I just enjoy that movie because I'm like. It's robots fighting monsters on a big scale. You're gonna get
and it's fun. It's not like I felt like
it's a fun movie.
I felt like the first one just made you work for so much.
Oh my
fun.
god,
like,
the first one was exhausting.
It's like nope, you got to be synced up with your minds. And
yeah,
I'm like,
and it's like well, why? You just give us the explanation of, oh, it's too much to bear. I'm like, well, then why did you not make the machine easier to bear? Or like whatever.
Because the kid in the second one like has a smaller one that she doesn't need. And I
Yeah.
was like, I like this. Like this is fun. I will follow this lead. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad that they tie her to John Boyega, but I was like, I could also just watch her. Like,
Yep.
she's good.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just like, okay, this makes much more sense. Just do that. Single fighters. Like,
Yeah, and Charlie Day came back, so like you can't be that mad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can only tolerate so much Charlie Day.
Yeah.
I can only tolerate so much. of
I'm just
Charlie
saying in terms of people coming back from the first one. And luckily,
Yeah,
what's
fair.
his face died, so I don't have to deal with him.
Day. Yeah, Charlie
Hunnam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, you're not a fan of him at all.
Not even a little bit, baby.
No, you're really not.
But I might like him in The Gentleman. I haven't
Possibly.
seen it yet,
Yeah.
but in the trailer, at least, I'm not like, ugh.
I like how he's like, yeah, I think we need to remake King Arthur because it wasn't a fair shot. I'm like, no, just let it die.
Didn't he
dude.
just do another King Arthur
Yeah, he
movie?
did. Yeah. So I'm just like, just let it die, dude. Just move on. Just try another role. Just accept it. Like,
I
fine.
do like
We're fine.
when he was doing Gentleman Press that like they kept showing like other pictures of Green Arrow, and like now he's kind of like, yeah, that's the one that looks like me.
Yeah.
I'm like Green Arrow.
He's
And I'm-
full on Green Arrow. Like if he gets cast as Green Arrow, I know you don't like him, but like you have to love that casting. He does
Why?
look
Because it
exactly
visually
like
looks like him?
Queen. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of people that could look like that.
Oh my god, it's like if Benedict Cumberbatch didn't get cast as Doctor Strange, I think I would be pretty upset.
Joaquin Phoenix was a good choice too.
He was a good choice, but Benedict Cumberbatch is like the perfect choice to play that role, I think.
I like him. I'm not saying I don't like him, but I wasn't like, oh wow, this will really go to shit if he doesn't play him.
Well, I wouldn't say it went to shit. Like if an actor's miscast, it's not going to be as bad as if a director was mischosen.
Take that, Captain Marvel. All right.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah. Well, that's that.
Yep.
We did it. We casted the Fantastic Four. Tell us what you liked about that. Don't tell us what you didn't like. Tell us- yeah. So please, on Twitter, we're at TDF Spoiled. We don't have an Instagram, but you can follow Ben and I on Instagram, and you can find that on tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. We are still a part of that shelf. .com.
That was a weird way of putting it.
Yeah, we're still there. So if you like us and
We're
want,
enthusiastically there.
yeah, if you like us, you probably will like other shows on there, like Black Hole Films, Bad Gay Movies, Changing Reels, which is a new one, and I might be on that show either this week or next week. Also, Highly Logical, Composers. There's a bunch of great ones, and I would never do this run without remembering No Budget Nightmares. What a great theme song. Also, the host of No Budget Nightmares was just featured in a news item because they were talking about how John Mulaney wore a Toronto shirt when he was on SNL.
Oh yeah.
And that was supposed to like appease fans who kept canceling on Toronto.
Okay.
And Doug Tilley, one of the hosts of No Budget Nightmares, was actually featured in the thing, being like, if he thinks that's gonna make us feel better, I mean, yeah, probably. He's right. Great guy, great theme song. Great. Listen to his podcast. Listen to all the podcasts I named. There's more podcasts. So just search on the thatshelf.com podcasts page. You'll find it. I did this out of order, so it's really fucked me. But yeah, please subscribe, rate, review, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public. We're on most places that podcasts are, so find us and subscribe. And tell your friends about it.
Yep. Do
and,
it.
And email us at spoiledpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
Great. Do you have anything to say?
Nope, that's it.
We did it, man. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.